So, something you said before we took our commercial break was that you were speaking about how economical position for families and stuff can really affect the way they're able to provide moral support. I definitely feel like that's true. And it's something funny. Recently, I've really been in a space like where, I don't know, I've been more in tune with like, I guess messages or stuff on posts that I have never been able to hear and receive because I wasn't on the right frequency, I guess, in my life. But I heard this man, his name is Myron Golden, and he's like a inspirational speaker. But I just found out he was a preacher. And now I'm not like religious or anything, did grow up in church, but I'm open. Like Confucius said, be open to principles, you know, but don't be bound by them. You know, you're free to make your own decisions and think. But something he said, it's really our responsibility, because you know we get conflicted, especially when people are really religious and they say, oh, the love of money is evil. No, the way that he broke this down was like, he was like, we're supposed to get wealthy, but that wealth, we're not supposed to let that change us as a person. We're supposed to use it as a resource to help our family and our family's family and the generations to come. That's the difference. If you take the wealth and you just hold it for yourself and just use it on yourself and making your life better, but don't help the people that are close to you that could really be benefited by you actually helping them, now that's where you're going wrong. But if you actually use it as a tool to make your future generations great, that's what he was. And I was like, I never heard it put that way. You know, when he said you supposed to be fruitful and multiply and all this kind of stuff, like that's what it's talking about. It's like multiplying whatever gifts, talents, abilities you have and using it to the best of your ability to create a good life for your kids. Your kids shouldn't have to get it out the mud, which is what we're, we're glorifying that nowadays. Like, oh, I got it out the mud. I did it by myself, but you shouldn't have to. Like, you should. We supposed to lift the next generation up like Simba.
But to your point, and I guess to his point, I also think that like wealth and passing that down, to children and generations to come. I also I think it's important. I think a lot of people do it. It doesn't get as much, I don't know, attention as it should. But spreading that wealth through your collective communities and people that are currently here, not just future people. That artist I mentioned to you, Theaster Gates, I have watched a short clip of him. I think it was on PBS or something, but he was talking about how he had sold a certain amount of work and then he had bought this building in Chicago. And I'm sure I'm going to miss some details, but they renovated it, and his dad was a roofer, so a lot of the skills that he's comfortable doing certain things on his own. With not on his own, but he's comfortable being a part of it. And they turned it into this art, some kind of art use building for artists in that city, and then they went and bought another building. And I think that people with wealth, and instead of just thinking about this, I'm setting up my future kids, do that of course, but I also think it's really special when they choose to pour that into their community for those who aren't on that level. If you're here and everybody's down here, then how successful are you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're not giving back, and if other people that it's
you don't give all of it,
but give something, help a little bit.
Everybody contributed, and I think that in this get it out the mud and this crab in a barrel mindset that a lot of our generation tends to be in, because that's what we see glorified in music and in movies. It's well, what does it look like? You don't have to have a big collective or a big community, but if 5 of y'all are designated to supporting each other in whatever that looks like, it doesn't have to be full-time support, but it's okay, this person is trying to get her business up. What can I do? Maybe I help her make her flyers. So whatever you feel you can contribute, I think that's what allows us to rise to that level together, as opposed to most of us being down here and 2 or 3 people being up there.
I agree with that.
So our country wants us to do, but we're not gonna get into that.
Oh, we're gonna get into it then. We're gonna get into it. Cause you're leading me to a place. So this is my thing. We know that it's clear, it's apparent. People of color, we're broken. We don't have much of a community. Like you said, we are our we know through different types of enslavements throughout the world, we have been oppressed, and our culture has been diluted, if not removed completely, and replaced with tearing each other down, crabs in a bucket, destruction of each other. So if that is the case, I would consider it a broken vessel. So with that being said, if we have resources and we want to pour them into the community is now a broken vessel. So it seems as if what we're pouring in will flow right back out and not have the effect that we want. But you did say something that I feel like is the solution, and it's like, if you control, like him getting the building and controlling what's happening, putting the funds into that building and controlling the outreach that they're doing, that's different. That's a way to control the flow, considering that there are holes in our community everywhere.
Yeah, which also leads me to like there's a lot of healing that has to take place on generational levels. Like there's hella trauma and like that we as 20-something, 30-something year olds hold because our 40-something, 50-something, 60-something year old parents held that trauma and their parents held that trauma, and it just gets like
passed down.
It gets passed down. So I think that like that broken vessel that you're talking about, it needs some like self and communal healing and repair, so that way you can pour into it. And I think that like a lot of people aren't willing to acknowledge, especially like our parents' generation, they're not comfortable acknowledging like what healing looks like outside of like a church setting, because that's not what they've seen. And it's like, what is therapy?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I think that if some type of healing or repair can take place, those vessels don't have to be ditched; they can be repaired. Because ceramic is strong, and we're a strong group of people. You know what I mean? I think it just like, and it's not one person can't choose to put the vessel back together. That's just one piece. It has to be all those broken pieces have to be like, okay, cool. What happens when we're a vessel again?
So I guess you use the marketing strategies, because the thing is, a lot of people are so disconnected and like so far from that reality that is not even something they really care about. So I guess you would start with awareness, bringing attention to it, then interest, some way of getting them interested in why do we need a solution, and then that creates the desire, and the desire creates the action. But I guess you would apply a marketing strategy to the way that you do it. Like, I guess the same way they do the propaganda for destroying us, it's the same approach that needs to be taken for the propaganda to combat that destruction.
I would also say that, like, I think the action part of it, I wonder if that's one step or if that step repeats itself with each of the steps. Because, like, the people, whoever the people are who decided, okay, cool, we need to get these pieces back together, they too have to do the action. And I think that a lot of times it's helpful, like sometimes to get, not everybody, but sometimes to get someone to do something is for them to see you doing it. So I think like in terms of the awareness, I forgot the steps, but each of the steps you said, I think that like action should be like a sub-step with each of those, so that with actions always take place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we could get into a place where we're thinking so much and planning so much
Right,
that nothing's getting done.
This
would be great, wouldn't it?
And then if you're doing all the planning and waiting for people to join before you start, then you're really never going to start.
Yeah.
Like, I think that.
But if we start and we invite people, like, this is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
This is how we're. I think people like being part of something that's already going.
Right. Not like come to this next week. Come to this that's happening right now.
Or telling people what your vision is, because people can never see the vision. Nobody can ever see the vision but the person who envisioned it.
Right.
So, you know, you're like, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be great. And they're like, and see nothing but a blank paper. They're like.
Right. As opposed to like come and look at what we've already done. Like this group of people, you know, they started with us a couple months ago, and like look at the progress that's taking place. Look at the conversations that we're having. Look at how vulnerable people are being, and like how don't talk to me, talk to the person who's doing it and ask them how they feel about it. I think like that can be like that's an unmatched thing to have.
It's like a testimonial or case study type.
People love a review.
Yeah, I mean they are authentic. Sometimes they can be scripted, but I feel like nowadays more people are more just genuine with those. I don't see too many of them that seem fake anymore. You know, like with the infomercials. Oh, I tried this
Because those people are getting paid. You gotta catch the people who
that aren't getting paid and there's no benefit. Right.
In return,
Yeah.
to be the most honest.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. So,